so just like I said, we're gonna try and diversify a bit here on this channel. Less of a focus on pure action game stuff, you know, get a little more varied with the genres covered here. And what better way to start than by taking a look at Sony's latest cinematic open-world survival zombie game, Days Gone. Easy peasy, I'm just gonna go into this and act like I've never even played an action game like Devil May Cry before. It's gonna be great. Let's get immersed in this vibrant world. Let's go. Melee combat fully upgraded! So if 3 bandits attack you in the post-apocalypse and 2 of them have guns, the best course of action is just hit them with that blade combo. You know, just A combo, B combo, C combo, drop in some heavy combo. Of course, weapon switching on the fly, key in a game like this. You gotta hit them with a range move, then go in for the melee attack, dodge out the way, hit them with another range move, go in for the final blow, triple S style. I see, here's what I'm talking about. You gotta make good use of your witch time out here in the wasteland. A horde? You think a horde is any problem for me? With gunslinger style at my side. I'm combo mad, baby. Actions speak louder than words do. Forced walking segments? Come on, think through my gaming knowledge. There's gotta be a way to get out of this slow movement. Of course. Foolishness, Days Gone. Foolishness. Just keep mashing something to get out of the forced walking. Days Gone has high-level movement strats, man. Oh, shit. Beowulf. I knew you weren't dead. Okay, so with Beowulf, you want to get nice and deep. Just want to keep doing those combos. Keep that dodge roll going. Okay, so looks like Beowulf has some cronies this time. So what you want to do is you want to break out Agni and Rudra, you know, go in with those flame attacks. Really mix it up with all the different flame moves that Agni and Rudra has to offer. When he's dazed from those moves, just head in with the combos, you know, just go in for the kill. And don't let up on the Swordmaster and the crazy combos. Just keep mashing. Just keep mashing. And then, you know, finish him off with Spiral. Yeah, good way to finish off the battle with style. Okay, so the bike weapon in this game seems a little stiff, seems a little hard to combo with, but I think I can get used to it. Cavalier, let's do this! Okay, so jokes aside, no matter how cool one tries to make Days Gone look, it can't help being one of the least interesting or exciting games out there at the moment. And that, in and of itself, is probably the most interesting thing about it. In a year that's already filled with multiple bangers, the idea that anybody would be excited for something as pedestrian as Days Gone or attempt to play it in any sort of creative way is such a funny idea that me and my Discord server have made an entire board to satirize such a concept. Every mechanic in Days Gone has been done to death. It's got it all. Third-person aiming in an open world, crafting, crouch stealth, where you instantly fail if spotted, slow-mo aiming, more crafting, throwing rocks as a distraction, detective scan vision, crossbows, you craft bolts for, clearing out occupied segments of an open world, zombies. Oh, wait, no, wait, hold on. It does have a bike, okay? It has a bike. Breath of the Wild has a motorbike now. Zelda beat you to the punch on having a motorbike.
If it weren't for you, I would have been dead a long time ago. Or worse.
Okay, Days Gone was promoted with the thrill of zombie hordes in mind. These huge flocks that could chase you down in intimidating swarms. But in the game, they don't come across that impressive, which is weird when it definitely seemed like they were trying to communicate this as the title's biggest selling point. If you play the game smartly, just leaving the few times they show up, you really don't have to interact with the swarm that often for most of the game. Most story missions are very straightforward and don't involve them from what I can tell. Go to the place and stealth or shoot like in a million games before. If playing Devil May Cry 5 is like eating one of those tower burgers you get at fancy restaurants where you can't possibly open your mouth wide enough to bite into it all at once, where the ingredients are akin to the mechanics, overflowing out to the bun, leaving you with chunks of meat and veg to play with, scattered across the plate, unable to be contained. And if Breath of the Wild is a tasty foot-long meatball sandwich, giving you nice chunks of marinated content per bite, then Days Gone is like eating a full loaf of buttered sliced bread. You know, nice enough sliced bread, you know, the kind with the nice seeds. Decent quality, but still just a really long stack of plain-ass bimbo. At the best of times, bread and butter is something you'd only want if you were really hungry, and in those cases, it can hit the spot once in a while, maybe with a nice character beat or fun shootout in the case of Days Gone, but I don't think even then you'd want to do the full loaf all at once, or even half of it, or maybe even a quarter of it. Playing Days Gone for more than 30-minute chunks really grinds on one, though in some cases, buttered bread might be a bit generous, because there are some moldy slices in there for sure, like when a hostage mission wouldn't trigger as completed for me. Don't know if I'm doing something wrong there. I kept reloading a quick save before completing it every time it glitched, hoping that if I came back to it later it would complete itself the next time, but it never did. I'd free the guy, and the game just wouldn't acknowledge it. Guess I'm not getting that completion. Now, the thing about Days Gone is that it seems like the most by-the-numbers sort of modern game that would be very appealing to most people and reviewers as well. Open-world shooter, serious story, impressive enough visuals, which means you'd think it would be necessary for edgy critics like me and other online game assassins to speak the truth and knock it down a peg. But instead, everyone is pretty lukewarm on Days Gone, making the edgy critics out there seem like they're over-egging the pudding by even bringing up that, yeah, Days Gone is pretty whatever. And this got me thinking about another time this happened. This reminds me of when The Order 1886 released, another Sony exclusive. At the time, it seems like a very generic game, with mechanics done a million times before, with not much new to add. But instead of being in the now very oversaturated open-world shooter survival genre, it was in the then oversaturated linear corridor shooter genre. Both of these games came out at the tail end of the height of their respective genres. Some might argue kind of after the height. As such a milquetoast, self-serious AAA game, Order seemed like something that deserved an immediate thrashing before the mainstream press could praise it. But it came, and nobody was that keen on the thing. AAA linear third-person grim shooting with intense graphics and scripted moments and quick time had gotten stale to pretty much everyone in 2014, even the critics who used to lap it up. I'm wondering if we're in a similar position with open-world third-person shooter games today. I'm sure when the idea for Order was pitched, it seemed like a surefire formula for success, and I'm sure when Days Gone was pitched, Last of Us but open world also seemed like a no-brainer. But games like these, new IPs bringing nothing new to the table mechanically in their respective well-trodden formulas, don't light the world on fire, apparently. Days Gone had the misfortune of also being delayed multiple times. I'm sure if it had come out the day they came up with it, it would have received far more praise. But instead it came out after much higher profile open world games finally released, like Red Dead 2 and Breath of the Wild. Zelda taking things to an entire new level 2 whole years ago, with awesome emergent open world mechanics combined with classic Nintendo puzzle design. After that, it's really hard to play something like Days Gone, which feels like it should have come out years before Breath of the Wild. Maybe, hopefully, we can ease up on this type of game now that everyone is more aware that it's not a surefire route to success, because lately it's been one yawn after another with the generic open world genre. Oh yeah, I'm sure there'll be more, and maybe even some good ones. There were some good linear third-person shooters after The Order, though off the top of my head I can only really think of Uncharted 4, and that was in a pre-existing franchise, and it also kind of went out of its way to include open world segments, so after Order, there wasn't really that many linear cover-based shooters for a while in the 8th gen, and maybe the same is going to start now for the mold Days Gone fits into going into the 9th gen. And I'm not saying that the only reason Days Gone is getting dogged on is because its mechanics are antiquated, but I definitely feel like they aren't winning the game many fans. Maybe there'll be a bit of a decline in this kind of generic open world game, especially now that we've kind of circled back around into a sort of middle ground where some of the big, critically acclaimed games are ones that feature non-linear and exploratory elements but condensed into smaller, tight, polished worlds packed with compelling back-to-back core gameplay rather than huge wastelands to drive through. Even if I'm not right on the money there, I can't help but draw comparisons between the release of these two games. Just like with The Order, it was fascinating to see casual gamers IRL I know on release date already aware that apparently Days Gone is pretty mediocre. It's interesting to think about, I don't know. Oversaturation always comes back to bite. Though also a weird similarity is that, while critically underwhelming, both of these games have done quite well in the UK, land of the Sony lad, so I guess more gaming Brits need to watch, The Gaming Brit Show, am I right? I don't want to make the same mistake I feel I made with the order though and just gang up on it because it was clearly something I wasn't going to be into and I felt like it was going to need a thrashing, when it immediately became clear that most everybody had kind of had enough of the meal it was dishing up. Much like with the order, for anyone paying attention, the writing was on the wall for how mediocre Days Gone was going to be from the beginning. So glitches aside, if you're a diehard for this formula, then yeah, you probably might get some fun out of it. The same way you might still have enjoyed The Order back when it released if you were a diehard for cover-based shooting of any kind. You know, I can see fans of this type of thing getting into Days Gone, you know, switching on a podcast while cruising around and collecting stuff. There's worse things to do, I guess, with your free time. It is quite funny, actually, how similar the combat in Days Gone is to the new God of War in terms of perspective and controls. It also has that kind of homing thing God of War had, where attacks don't have any real consistent range because the game will kind of slide you into the enemy if you're a bit out of reach, so you don't really need to think that much about positioning. Makes you feel like you're barely in control of melee combat as you just sort of suggest a direction at most, and then Mr. John Gunn will just, you know, slide over to hopefully who you wanted him to. It looks and feels janky. Only in Days Gone, the new God of War combat style kind of makes a little more sense. Swinging wildly with low visibility, dodging hard to predict incoming danger frantically makes a lot more sense when playing as a scrappy drifter in the post-apocalypse than when playing as the God of War. So if we're going to be charitable, that bit of jankiness at least makes a little more sense here contextually, I suppose. So, you know, I forgot I was supposed to be chilling on the whole action game stuff now, wasn't I? And here we are at the end of the Days Gone video, getting super into it again. Well, I think it goes without saying that before we really get into that new direction, there are still a few odd bits of leftover I've got to clean up first. Bear with me.